Hello, people, and welcome back to the Millennial Investor series. This week, I'm going to be sharing with you investment lessons from the richest man in Africa, the richest black man in the world, some people say, but in nobody else but Aliko Dangote, right? Investment lessons from Aliko Dangote. Aliko Dangote is an extraordinary man for so many reasons, one of which is the fact that his personal net worth is actually worth 2.6% of Nigeria's GDP. Now, think about that for a moment. One man is worth 2.6% of a whole country's GDP, right? According to Wikipedia, his current net worth is valued at $10.6 billion, right? And that is about 2.6% of Nigeria's GDP as of 2018. To give you some perspective to why that number is important, the richest man in the world, the richest man in American history, Mr. John Rockefeller, his entire net worth was only 1.5% of America's GDP, right? One man at any point in time, and he was the richest man in the world, but even at that time, his net worth was only 1.5% of the country where he lived in. Now think about a man like Aliko Dangote, whose net worth is 2.6% of an entire nation's GDP. Now that is remarkable. How has he achieved this remarkable feat? I decided to do a study, basically try to understand what were his investment lessons, what did he do on his journey, and I found 4 investment lessons that I'd like to share this week. The first one is very simple. I mean, the truth is, the investment lessons are really simple. It's always about executing, really. The first one is invest in what you understand. Like, he doesn't try to do anything complex.
With us, we only move into a business that we fully do understand, where at least 10 of our top guys, even if you wake them up from sleep, they can tell you exactly the process A to Z. Because the most dangerous thing for an entrepreneur to do, is actually, to go into a business that he does not understand fully.
He keeps it simple, he goes deep, and sticks to what he understands. Now, he started out as a trader, someone importing and exporting very basic commodities, rice, sugar, textile at some point. All he was doing was importing and exporting those basic commodities. And then he evolved into an industrialist, someone who set up manufacturing plants that, gave him the ability to, take advantage of economics of scale and grow, basically massively over a period of time. He keeps things very simple. That's one key lesson I really like about Mr. Aliko Dangote. I always tell my friends that basically we created the richest man in Africa because we all eat rice, we all take sugar, we all use the basic commodities that he trades in or that he manufactures, basically. And I think it's a very remarkable thing that someone created such massive wealth from very basic commodities that you and I use every day. Well, I guess that's why, because since we use it every day, we'll continue to pay him, right? Because he manufactures this product. And his recent project is also even more laudable. He's building one of the biggest refineries in the world. The refinery size is really going to be producing 665,000 barrels of oil, of petrochemical products. And that is remarkable, very remarkable. Even Nigeria does not need that amount of crude oil on a daily or monthly basis, right? So that is what he's done. He's focused on things that he understood. One of the things I learned from him is that when he started trading rice and sugar, it wasn't rocket science for him to get into petrochemical products at that time. But he decided to take his time and build up a portfolio in basic commodities first before he went into petrochemicals. Basically, he had a plan and then he phased it out over time. And when he was ready to go big into petrochemicals, another very basic commodity we all use in our everyday lives, he went big into it, right? Very first lesson, invest in what you understand, right? Second lesson I learned from studying and reading about Chief Aliko Dangote is the fact that he always thinks about problems and providing solutions to those problems. I heard him speak and he says that one of the key things he always thinks about, a key business principle, is how is this going to help Nigerians or Nigeria be better? If this business doesn't help Nigeria get better, then he has no business being in that business.
We look at what are the areas that can actually take Nigeria to the next level. And that's why we map out all the issues and the problems that we're facing as a country for lack of diversifying the economy.
Now that is such an amazing principle. And I'm very sure if every entrepreneur or business person in Nigeria thought that way, we would all solve Nigeria's problems, right? He always focuses on solving problems. The first problem was, how can we make a commodity like cement cheaper for the everyday man to be able to purchase and maybe build their houses? And what did he think about doing? Setting up a major manufacturing plant that would, bring in economies of scale and make him also price his products cheaper or commodity cheaper and sell to other African countries as well. Now, if you're in the business environment, you might feel that that's been very competitive. He was basically cutting his competitors out. Well, but he was also thinking about the everyday man and how to make these things affordable, right? So I think that is very remarkable. As an entrepreneur, you should always think about problems. What solution can I bring to the problems in the marketplace? Don't focus on simply earning income, right? If you focus on earning income, then it is really not sustainable. But if you're solving a problem and you see a very great way, a sustainable way, a competitive way, and maybe something cheaper as well to solve the problem for, the everyday people, then there's no doubt that you're on your way to wealth, right? It is very important to think about problems and think about solutions that you can bring to the marketplace to solve those problems. That's my second investment lesson from Chief Aliko Dangote. And the truth is, you should also invest in companies like that. As an investor, if you're someone who's not really in business, as an investor, you should also think about investing in companies that are solving everyday problems. We see them on the stock exchange. The companies that solve everyday problems keep growing in value and keep earning more in terms of returns. We basically see that happen, right? So that's the second lesson. Think about solving problems. So the third investment lesson from Chief Aliko Dangote, I think it was amazing because he shared the story of how he, set up a manufacturing plant and things were just not in place. And for the first time in his life, he thought, this business might just die in my hands.
When we first started with our cement business in the sense that we want to build a cement factory, we brought in a contractor and asked the contractor to do the soil test. And eventually the same contractor, we gave them to now go and do the foundation job. They gave us a wrong soil test. We gave them the contract to check the soil test and see whether it was going to be piling or whatever.
At the point where everything stopped, what was going through your mind? What did you think?
That if this project fails, that I'm gone.
And I thought that was an important lesson because you should always be ready for good times and bad times. Sometimes we look up to them as icons, but we do not realize they have also experienced their fair share of really, really tough moments in their business. What's important is that they persevered over that period. They did not give up, even when it looked like they would, lose everything. But they stuck to it, persevered, and sought out a way to create a way that they could get through those bad times, right? So always remember that even on your investment journey, there will be good times. And there might be bad times. You might invest in something that might go bad. I've had my fair share of that too. I remember my first investment that went bad. I felt really bad because I really felt what it felt like to lose money that I had worked hard for, right? But so you see, that's something that you need to understand. There will always be good times and there'll be bad times. What's best is think about preparing for the bad times. And one of the lessons he shared is one of the ways he prepares for bad times is to diversify his business. So he's not just, depending on one core industry or business or commodity. So if that industry is going through a tough time, the other industry might just be fine and getting through that bad time, right? So as a business owner, think about diversifying. And as an investor as well, think about how you can build a portfolio that is a bit diversified so you're not too exposed to a certain industry or a certain kind of risk, right? A lot of people are getting into a lot of the agro or agricultural options. Be very careful that you're not getting yourself exposed or your entire investment portfolio exposed to just one type of investment option, right? Think about how you can diversify and always note that there will be good times and there will be bad times. What's important is how you prepare to get through the bad times and how you can persevere and ensure that the bad times don't swallow you up, all right? I thought that was a remarkable lesson because we all live in this country, Nigeria and Africa at large. Things can really get tough. The economy goes through its fair share of recessions and bad times. But people like Dangote, even though they lose net worth over a period of time, they end up bouncing back because of this very key principle. All right, that's the third lesson. The final lesson I thought was really remarkable as well was the fact that he thinks legacy. He's always thinking about something that is beyond him, something that he will be remembered for. He's not just doesn't just live for the now and the present. I just want to be rich. Funny enough, he said his goal was never to be rich. His goal was just always to solve problems around him.
It's not the goal to be the richest man. I'm not in competition with anybody. That's
Right.
number one. So number two, I think it is mainly to see how impactful we are going to be to humanity.
Right.
I think you would like to be remembered for things that you have actually done, and that's why we are also very active in terms of philanthropy. It's not only about business.
But I thought that it was important that he thinks about legacy. It's not enough to have short-term thinking, make money for now, and not think about generations to come. If you read the stories of the men that built America, the men that set up Kohl's, hotels, even till today, their families are extremely wealthy. Think about names like Rockefeller, think about names like, Hilton, think about names like, so many other names like that. We still hear those names and they are still extremely wealthy. Walmart, for instance, those are multi-generational families with multi-generational wealth. And I think that the fact that an African man is thinking that way is remarkable. And I think it's something you should also consider on your investment journey. Think about your last name more than your first name. Think about leaving something that generations to come will thank you for. And will possibly change the direction and everything about your family for the rest of your lives. Think about having the 10th generation or the 20th generation thinking back and saying, I'm so glad my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather or grandmother took this investment decision so that we can live and earn income from this today. Those are the 4 investment lessons from Chief Aliko Dangote. And on that note, if you have any other investment lessons from Chief Aliko Dangote, please leave in the comment section. And if there's anyone else you want us to share investment lessons from or about, if you want me to share investment lessons about an icon, someone you respect, please leave a comment in the comment section as well. On that note, I'll see you guys next week.